This video presentation was made for the Global Analytics Competition 2019. I am Virasak Sokun, presenting on behalf of my teammates Christian Carlos and Branu Jeyavarman from Deakin University, Australia. We have developed this analysis under the guidance of Dr. William Yeoh. Different cities have reported alarming pollution levels already, indicating the need for serious and urgent efforts towards reversing the current air quality in the atmosphere. Despite this, the work needs to be done not just by these cities, but on a worldwide scale. With such, this analysis will explore the relationship between global air pollution and population. The objectives of this study are: firstly, understand the relationship between global air pollution and population. Secondly, we are also looking at the trends and different drivers of air pollution from the global perspective. Lastly, we aim to suggest innovative and sustainable solutions to address the issue. The group faced difficulties in finding and collating timely, complete and accurate data for this topic. In the end, 4 sources were utilized in the creation of a quality dataset for analysis. The sources are mainly UNEP for the country air pollutants variable, World Bank for the global data, OECD for the demographics, and EIA for energy data. Combination of Excel and SAS were used to collate, combine, clean, and extract the final data, while IBM Watson Analytics was used to explore, analyze, and visualize the data. The key variable in this study is the carbon dioxide emission in the atmosphere. Other variables were used as variables and indicators to better understand and validate the relationship between CO2 and population. As to be shown in this presentation, we will first be looking at the global situation for air pollution, then look and identify regions and subregions based on intensity of pollution, followed by identifying top emitting countries. Predictive analytics was used to identify top drivers of CO2 level. These drivers will also be discussed in details during the later part of the presentation. From the drill-down analysis and predictive analytics, insights were drawn and possible solutions were developed. Let's start the discussion with the global level analysis. Looking at the 3 of the most prevalent chemicals in the air, carbon dioxide or CO2 emission was the highest among all, amounting for more than twice the amount of nitrous oxide and methane from 2000 to 2010. It is also evident that CO2 is on rise for the said time frame in comparison to the other greenhouse gases. Road transportation and manufacturing industry are 2 of the highest contributors to the emission level. Drilling down from the global condition, it has been identified that North America and Northeast Asia are 2 main contributors of CO2 during the first decade of the century. Upon clicking North America, it is obvious that the United States is driving the region's emissions as indicated by the dark color in the map. On the other hand, looking at Northeast Asia, which is driven by China, the growth in the level of emission is prominent. Furthermore, there is a concern on spreading of CO2 level in the regions as can be seen on this video. In the next visualization, we will use filtering feature to drill down into China and the US. Comparing the 2 countries, as expected for China, manufacturing industry emission tremendously increased in the 10-year span compared to the relatively stable emission of the said industry in US. Moreover, the emission coming from transportation is very high in the US. This can be highly attributed to the volume of private cars. Using a 2-way ANOVA test, the 4 main drivers of CO2 level were identified, namely GDP, nitrous oxide, population, and energy consumption, all of it having high predictive strength. It has to be noted that outlying countries like China and US were taken out of the predictive analytics and the relationship analysis to better capture the real connection between variables. As can be seen on the scatter diagram, there is a positive relationship between the country's gross domestic product or GDP. 7 of 10 countries with highest GDP are also part of the top emitting countries. More so, most of the top countries for GDP are developed and first world countries, except for China. China's high GDP can be attributed to massive government spending and a boom in their manufacturing industry after being the main source of exports and other countries taking advantage of the cheap labor offered in China. Consequently, the same industry also contributed to the alarming levels of CO2 in the country. For the nitrous oxide, a moderate positive correlation was observed between the two greenhouse gases as seen in the plot. Like CO2, it is also driven by interaction of different variables like population, forest area, subregion, and GDP. Moving to the next driver, it is apparent that an increase in energy consumption influenced the increase of CO2 level. This can be attributed to the dependency of the world to non-renewable energy like coal, oil, and petroleum. For the next driver, a relatively high positive correlation of 0.61 was computed between population and CO2. Increase in population also leads to increase in emission level. To add into that, population is also highly linked to other top drivers of CO2 emission with a correlation of 0.44 against GDP, 0.69 against energy consumption, and 0.73 against nitrous oxide emission, as can be visualized on the scatter diagrams. Overall, population undeniably impacts CO2 emission level in the atmosphere. Growth in population implies a bigger demand for energy use, be it for daily activities, for transportation, or even to meet agricultural needs, and consequently lead to higher emission level. In addition, population play a big part in the economic activities of a country, dictating both supply and demand within an economy. The way of living of the population not just affects the economy, but also plays a big role in terms of amount, waste generated, and chemical emission. In terms of solution, focusing on reversing the damage alone would not be enough, as it is evident that the existing rate of air pollution is very high. The solution must be the combination of both preventive and corrective solution. We consider 3 avenues of corrective measures. First, the analytical, which is concerned with collecting high-quality data and making accessible to a wider audience. Second, strict policy implementation. Organizations and government institutions can create policy concerning use of sustainable energy, eco-friendly transport systems, and creating green buildings. And last, for the technological innovation, take advantage of modern innovations to develop effective, efficient, and sustainable solutions. Preventive measures include, but not limited to, eco-friendly policies as well as increasing awareness of the general public on how everyone can contribute to control emission level. To end this presentation, bear in mind that air pollution is a problem not only governments should be concerned of. Each and everyone's way of living impacts the quality of environment we are living in. Your sustainable lifestyle leads to sustainable world. Thank you for watching this video presentation for Global Analytics Competition 2019.